Hi, I'm Janet from Basic Organization, and we're going to learn today how to measure a space and also how to measure the furniture to begin your space plan. So the first thing you want to do is to really stand in the middle of the room and take a few minutes to measure, to draw out the space. It doesn't have to be to scale, doesn't have to be very neat. You can do all of that later when you're sitting at your desk and you have the time to be a little bit neater. So very quickly, I've drawn this room that we're in. Really fast. This is a living room. You'll see that there are steps that we'll see as I'm measuring, and then this is the shape of the room, and these are windows. So let's get started measuring. Now we're going to start to measure the space. The first thing you need to do is take overall length and width measurements. So, as you see, I'm using the tape measure against the floor. You push the tape measure against the flooring, and that will help it stay sturdy. So you can push it against the baseboard, and it'll help you, measure correctly. Okay, the width of this room is 143 inches. Again, push down on the tape, push down on the tape. Okay, the length of this room is 146 inches. Now we're going to go back and really look at each wall and measure each item on the wall. You want to remember to really look vertically on the space so you don't miss anything. Let's start over here in this corner. We're going to measure from the corner to the frame of the doorway. So that's 51.5 inches. Now I'm going to measure the doorway. The little metal piece at the end of your tape measure will help you hold. So you can do this alone. 65 inches is the width of the doorway. It is much easier if you have someone helping you when you measure, but sometimes that's not a possibility. So you'll need to use the tape measure to the best you can to help you out. So it will take you less time. The length from the edge of the doorway to the other corner of the room is 27.5 inches. Now I want to step back and look at the whole wall. Is there anything else I need to record? Yes, there's an outlet here. So I again mark from the corner to the middle of the outlet is 18.5 inches. Now I'm going to move to the next wall. Okay, over here on this wall we pretty much have a blank wall except for two outlets. So I want to note those two. Again, I'm going to measure from the corner of the room to the middle of the outlet. 32.5 inches. Now I'm going to step over here and again do from the corner of the room to the middle of the outlet. 19 inches. Now we're going to work on this window wall. If window has framing, the framing is included in the size of the window. You don't include the framing on the wall measurement. You include it in the window measurement because you don't want to overlap furniture onto a frame of a window or a frame of a door. So let's go ahead and measure from the corner to the edge of the window. It's 21.5. From the window is 37 inches. And go between the two windows, 31 inches. See if this window is the same size. Yes, 37 inches. Let's step back and look at the rest of this wall. Okay, we don't have anything we need to note on the wall, except if you look down, there are two air registers on the floor. So you do need to note those. I can just by eyeballing it, I can tell that they're lined up with each other. So you want to note that from the baseboard to the outermost section of the air register is 11 inches. Then I'm going to go from, same idea as when you measure a door or a window, You want to start at a fixed point, so the corner of the room, I'm going to measure from the corner to the beginning of the register, 29 inches, and from the corner to the end of the register is 41 inches. All right? Now, this one is a little bit trickier. Let's move to the other side of the room. Okay, see, this register is still a part of the window wall. We need to measure this register, but there's no wall here. There's no end of this wall. It continues into the entry area. So how do we place this register exactly where it is? Again, you're going to have to measure from a fixed point. I'm going to go ahead and measure from, let's see, the window ends in the middle of the register, so that's not quite precise. Let's measure from this end of the window that I've already placed when I measured the window. So I can measure from the end of the window to the beginning of the register is 35 inches, and from the end of the window to this end of the register is 46 inches. You might want to measure a register, especially if it's an unusual size. So very quickly, you can just note that on your plan. These registers are 5.5 inches by 11 inches. Okay, let's measure the last wall. Again, a little tricky because there's no corner here. The wall continues into the entry. So I'm going to just start at the far end. We're going to start at this corner. And again, step back and look at the wall. I have to know where the full extent of drywall ceiling to floor ends and the stair railing begins, because you don't want to place a large piece of furniture on, across the stair railing. So we're going to go ahead and measure from the corner to where the drywall and to where the full 8 feet of drywall ends, which is 73 inches. You also see that there's an outlet not too far from this point. I'm going to just leave my tape at the corner and note that the middle of this outlet is at 78 inches from that corner. Now we want to measure the stair railing. It's really not going to matter the angle of the railing or anything. You just want to know what piece of furniture you can and cannot put in front of this space. So very easily, from the beginning of the railing to the end of the railing is 40 inches, 40.5 inches. Okay, the very last measurement is really the space where you're the opening into the living room. And because, again, you don't have a corner or wall here to stop you, this is pretty tight. You won't have much problem measuring it, but if you have a much larger space, you need to be a little careful. So the opening here into this room is 33.5 inches. Take a moment to just look through the room. Make sure you haven't missed anything. Always look on the ceiling. Make sure there's not some kind of venting, soffits, light fixtures hanging from the ceiling. All of that needs to be noted. This is your one chance to measure this space. Now you're going to go back to your office and create a plan. Thanks. So now we've measured the space. To save a little time on the video, I didn't stop and write down each measurement on the plan, but you will have to do that. So if you do have a second person helping you, it will go much faster if you do the measuring and call out the numbers and your second person goes ahead and notes it on the plan. But let's go ahead and look at the plan I've done. This is the room we just measured, the living room. The first thing I did was draw the room. Then we did overall width and length of the room. Then I started in the corner and went around and measured the space. I noted the outlets, here, 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 the air registers, the windows, the stair railing. You can take as many notes as you would like. One of the clues to keep things understandable and so you remember what you were doing in the space later when you get back to your office is to write the measurements inside the room. Note them as close to where the measurements were made as possible so you can remember what it is you were actually noting. Okay, the next step in our process is measuring the furniture that you think you want to put in the room. Of course, if you're not sure, measure everything. You just need to make a list of the furniture and the measurements you make. You want to measure the width and the depth of each piece, and of course if you have a tall piece, you need to note the height of the piece also. So bookcases, armoire, TV units, anything like that, even tall dressers. So we're going to start with this sofa, and I'm going to measure the depth of the sofa. So it's about 35 inches. You want to make sure you're measuring from the furthest point to the furthest point when you measure a piece of furniture. If a sofa or chair reclines, you need to open it up and measure at that point. Be really particular about furniture like that. Okay, so now we're going to measure the width of this sofa. Now, there's no hard edges on the arms of the sofa, so I am just going to have to lay this down and approximate the edge of the sofa. So I have 83 inches as the width of this sofa. I know that the height of this sofa isn't going to be instrumental in where I place this sofa in the room, so we're not going to worry about the height. Next, I'm going to measure a chair. Similar idea as measuring the sofa. You want to make sure you measure from the furthest point in the front to the furthest point in the back. So this chair is also 35 inches in depth. Okay, then I'm going to measure the width of the chair. These arms splay out a little bit, so you want to do the furthest point. That's the same with the front of the chair, so we're going to use the edge of the arm to the edge on this side, which is 33 inches. Now we're going to measure an end table, and it's similar to measuring any kind of table. So you want to, again, measure the depth of the table, 27 inches. Measure the width, 21 inches. Nothing is wider than the top of the table, so I went ahead and measured the top of the table. You might want to note if there is a front, like this table has a drawer in it, so you could note that that is the front of the table, so you don't place the side of the table thinking that that's the front. Now we're going to move on and measure some other pieces of furniture. Alright, we're ready to measure a few more pieces of furniture. Here we have an ottoman. I know it's square, but you need to measure it to make sure. So again, the width of the ottoman and the depth of the ottoman, 38 inches each. So you can note that. Now we're going to do a little more difficult piece of furniture. This is a tea cart. It has leaves at on either side of the table that drop. So like normally I use this table with the leaves down, but you're not sure, maybe I want to use it with a leaf or both up. So we're going to go ahead and measure at the top of the table, 31, the width, which is 19 and a half. I want to note that this handle sticks out a little bit. I can note that on the plan. And the back of it, actually there's a drawer, so you might want to use that as the front of the table. Depends on how you want to use this table. Then I want to open the leaves and note that each leaf, the length of each leaf is 11 and a half inches. So if we open it up completely, I want to go ahead and do the overall width of this table, which is 40 inches. And again, we can measure this just to make sure, 31. So you want to make as many notes as possible on an unusual piece of furniture. So we finished measuring the furniture now. All you need to walk away from doing that exercise is a list of what you have. You need to note what the items are and maybe how many. We only measured one chair, but we have two of the exact same chair, so we've noted that there are two. If you have a lot of, say, chairs that are individual, you might need to note the color of the chair or what the fabric looks like in order to remember which chair you were talking about. You can also take pictures. It becomes very helpful. So we've noted the width and the depth of each item. The tea cart, again, we did a little more noting of different measurements in order to remember. And then this just tells us that the ottoman is 38 inches square. So we are now ready to go back to the office and create a plan.